So in the previous class we learnt about permanent magnets and electromagnets and how to choose materials for making these magnets. Now today we'll see some problems based on this. You can take down the first one. I have a couple of problems. What type of magnetic material is used for making permanent magnets? The first question is, what type of magnetic material is used in making permanent magnets? Just recall the properties which are required for making a permanent magnet. We know magnetic material with high coercivity is used for making permanent magnets. Example can be steel. These two materials, the materials which are used for permanent magnets and electromagnets should have high permeability. But other than that, for magnetic material for permanent magnets should have high coercivity. Magnetic material with high coercivity is used. Magnetic material with high coercivity is used for making permanent magnets. Example can be steel. That is the answer. So these are all 1 mark questions. Next one can be mention 2 properties of the alloy from which permanent magnets are made. Mention 2 properties of the alloy from which permanent magnets are made. Same as the previous question. The alloy should be ferromagnetic type with high coercivity and also high permeability. So that is why I am telling it should be a ferromagnetic material. The alloy should be ferromagnetic with high coercivity. Okay, so the alloy should be ferromagnetic. That means that it should have high permeability with high coercivity. So high permeability and high coercivity are the 2 properties. Now next question is, why should the material used for making permanent magnet have high coercivity? Now we said it requires high coercivity, so why is the next question. Third one. Why should the material used for making permanent magnets have high coercivity? It should have high coercivity so that it will not easily loses its magnetization, because these permanent magnets are the magnets which should have its magnetizing property for a longer period of time. That is why we should have high coercivity, which means that it will not easily lose its magnetism property. So answer is that the material should have high coercivity so that it does not easily loses its magnetization. Material should have high coercivity so that high coercivity so that it does not loses its magnetization easily. Does not easily. Okay, now the last question. The hysteresis loop of a soft ion piece has a much smaller area than that of carbon steel. The hysteresis loop of a soft ion piece has a much smaller area than that of carbon steel piece. If the material is to go through repeated cycles of magnetization, has to go through repeated cycles of magnetization, which piece will dissipate greater heat energy? Which piece will dissipate greater heat energy? Now we know that the area under the hysteresis loop actually gives the energy loss, or it is proportional to energy loss. Now here we have to choose a material wherein we have cycles of magnetization which is repeated. That means to have less energy loss, we should have a hysteresis loop of less area. Now because the area of hysteresis loop represents energy loss, therefore carbon steel piece will dissipate greater heat energy because its area is more, because hysteresis loop of a soft ion piece has a much smaller area. So soft ion will have less energy loss, or will dissipate lesser energy. The answer is the carbon steel piece will have greater heat energy. So we can write area of hysteresis loop represent energy loss lost in each cycle of magnetization. Any cycle of magnetization and demagnetization. Therefore carbon steel piece will dissipate greater heat energy because it has larger area. Carbon steel piece will dissipate greater heat energy. So it is clear, I guess. So you should remember the area of hysteresis loop is directly proportional to the energy lost in each cycle of magnetization and demagnetization. So because here we are choosing a material which has to undergo repeated cycle of magnetization, if we choose soft iron piece, it will have less energy loss or less heat energy dissipation compared to carbon steel piece, because carbon steel piece have greater area.